You think you can play poker, boy? Let's see what you got. Billionaire Richard Blackstone shoves 11-year-old Jaden Thompson into the leather chair at his poker table. The child's feet barely touch the floor as Manhattan's elite crowd around with their phones out. One hand, you versus me. If you win, impossible. I'll pay for any school you want. When I win. Blackstone's cold eyes find Angela Thompson wiping down glasses in the kitchen. Your mama gets fired. Tonight. He flicks poker chips at Jaden's face. Each one leaves a red mark. Come on, kid. Show these people why you belong in the kitchen with mommy, not at the table with your betters. The room explodes with laughter. Cameras start rolling. Everyone expects to watch a poor black child get crushed by a billionaire in minutes. They have no idea they're about to witness something that will destroy everything they believe about intelligence and worth. Have you ever seen the exact moment when an underestimated genius explodes and changes everything forever? Picture this, 40 floors above the chaos of Manhattan, where the city's noise becomes a distant whisper and power lives behind bulletproof glass. Richard Blackstone's penthouse sprawls across 8,000 square feet of pure luxury. Marble floors so polished they reflect like mirrors. Crystal chandeliers worth more than most people's houses. And floor-to-ceiling windows offering a god's-eye view of Central Park. Tonight, the main living room has been transformed into a professional poker arena. 3 felt tables occupy the center, each surrounded by leather chairs that cost $15,000 apiece. Automatic card shufflers hum quietly in the corners. Crystal decanters filled with whiskey older than most of the staff catch the light from above. The air smells of expensive cologne, aged tobacco, and the kind of money that never worries about tomorrow. This isn't just a game night. This is where New York's most powerful people come to prove they're smarter than everyone else, betting amounts that could feed families for years while calling it charity. The entry fee tonight? $10,000 per person, supposedly benefiting youth education programs, though most of that money will end up funding another wing of some prep school that already has too much. Richard Blackstone stands at the center of it all like a king surveying his domain. At 52, he's got the kind of confidence that only comes from never being told no. His handmade Italian suit costs more than most cars. His Patek Philippe watch could buy a house. When he speaks, people listen. Not because he's wise, but because he signs their paychecks or funds their projects or holds their mortgages. He made his billions in tech, but his attitude comes from something much older and uglier. The belief that wealth equals intelligence, and skin color determines worth. Vincent, deal another round, Blackstone calls out to the man shuffling cards with machine-like precision. Vincent Vinny Castellano moves like poetry in motion when he handles cards. 30 years of professional poker have turned his fingers into instruments of art. The cards seem to dance between his hands, flowing in perfect arcs across the felt. He's here because these rich folks pay him $5,000 a night to lose gracefully to them, making them feel like poker gods, while never letting them lose so much they stop inviting him back. It's a delicate balance. Stroke their egos, take their money, and pretend their amateur mistakes are brilliant strategies. But tonight feels different. Tonight, Vinny keeps glancing at the small figure sitting quietly in the corner. Jaden Thompson perches on the edge of a chair that swallows his 11-year-old frame, his legs dangling like a child's shoulder. His clothes tell a story. The button-down shirt is clean but faded from too many washings. The khakis have been carefully mended at the knee, and his sneakers have seen better days but still shine from his mother's careful attention. Everything about him screams, "Doesn't belong here," which is exactly how these people like it. But if you look closer, really look, you'll notice something else. Jaden's eyes never stop moving. They track every card dealt, every chip bet, every facial expression around the tables. His head tilts slightly when someone bluffs. His fingers tap soundless rhythms against his leg, not nervous energy but calculations. While the adults assume he's just a bored child watching incomprehensible adult activities, Jaden is building a database of human behavior that would impress psychology professors. Patricia Whitmore adjusts her diamond necklace for the 15th time tonight. The gesture so automatic she doesn't realize she does it every time she's about to fold a losing hand. James Morrison's left eye twitches microscopically when he's bluffing, a tell so subtle even Vinny hasn't caught it, but Jaden cataloged it months ago. Dr. Elizabeth Foster touches her earring when she's calculating odds, always 3 quick taps with her index finger. These people have been playing poker in front of Jaden for 3 years, treating him like a piece of furniture that breathes. They discuss million-dollar deals, personal scandals, and business strategies as if he's deaf and dumb. But Jaden absorbs everything. Not just the poker, but the psychology behind it. The way wealth makes people careless. How privilege blinds them to their own weaknesses. How people who've never been truly challenged develop habits that would be fatal against real competition. Angela Thompson moves through the kitchen with quiet efficiency. Her presence so unobtrusive that guests sometimes forget there are actual people preparing their food and cleaning their glasses. At 38, she carries herself with the dignity of someone who's learned to find pride in honest work, even when that work is invisible to those who benefit from it. Her hands, roughened by years of cleaning supplies and hard labor, move with practiced grace as she arranges appetizers and refills drinks. She's been watching her son watch these people, and she's seen something the wealthy guests have missed. Jaden isn't just observing, he's learning. Every poker session becomes a masterclass in reading people, in understanding the mathematics of probability, in controlling emotions under pressure. While other 11-year-olds play video games, her son has been getting a graduate-level education in psychology and game theory from some of the city's most successful people, and they have no idea they're teaching him. The power dynamics in this room are as rigid as the marble floors. There are those who sit at the tables and those who serve them, those who make decisions, and those who clean up the consequences, those who matter and those who don't. Jaden and Angela exist in that second category, visible when needed, invisible when not, human furniture that keeps the important people comfortable. But tonight, those carefully maintained barriers are about to explode. Because while Richard Blackstone sees a poor black child who should know his place, what's actually sitting in that oversized chair is a mathematical prodigy who's been studying his weaknesses for 3 years. A psychological genius who's learned to read micro-expressions better than FBI profilers. A strategic mind that's been absorbing advanced game theory while pretending to be background decoration. The stage is set. The players are in position. And Richard Blackstone is about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one you never thought to notice. The evening has been flowing with its usual rhythm of self-congratulation and casual cruelty when Richard Blackstone notices Jaden studying the poker manual lying on the side table. The boy's fingers trace the pages showing hand rankings and betting strategies, his young mind absorbing information like a sponge. "Look at this," Blackstone announces loudly, his voice cutting through the sophisticated chatter. "The help's boy thinks he can read strategy books. How precious." He strides over and snatches the book from Jaden's hands, waving it in the air like evidence at a trial. "Tell you what, kid, since you're so fascinated by poker, why don't you show us what you've learned? Entertainment for the adults." The room's energy shifts as guests abandon their conversations to gather around. Phone cameras emerge from expensive purses and jacket pockets. This is the kind of spontaneous cruelty that makes for great social media content. Actually, Blackstone's eyes light up with malicious inspiration. Let's make this really educational. One hand of Texas Hold'em. The boy versus me. Patricia Whitmore claps her hands together. "Oh, how fun! Like teaching a dog new tricks." "Here's the deal," Blackstone continues, his voice getting louder as he feeds off the crowd's anticipation. "If this kid somehow beats me, which is about as likely as pigs flying, I'll fund a full scholarship to any prep school in the city." Murmurs of amusement ripple through the crowd. $10,000 in educational costs is pocket change to these people, a safe bet Blackstone knows he'll never have to pay. "But when I win, and I will win, there are consequences." His cold gaze finds Angela in the kitchen doorway, and the room falls silent. "Your mother packs her things tonight, finds herself a new job, somewhere far from here." Angela's wine glass trembles in her hands. 4 years of steady employment, health insurance, the small room in the building's staff quarters that she and Jaden call home, everything hangs in the balance of a card game designed to humiliate her son. "Come on now," Blackstone says, grabbing Jaden's arm and pulling him toward the main poker table. "Don't be shy. Show these nice people what your kind can do when you try to think." Vinny looks uncomfortable for the first time all evening. Mr. Blackstone, maybe we should deal the cards, Vincent, unless you want to find yourself a new gig, too. The professional poker player's jaw tightens, but he begins shuffling with sharp, angry movements. His 30 years in the game have shown him many ugly sides of human nature, but this feels different. This feels wrong. $500 each, Blackstone announces, pushing a stack of chips toward Jaden. Real money for a real game. Though I suppose for someone like you, $500 is quite a fortune. James Morrison laughs. Careful, Richard. Don't break the bank for the kid. Jaden looks across at the man who's about to destroy his family's life for sport. The chips feel heavy in his small hands. The cameras are recording. The laughter is getting louder, but as he settles into the leather chair that's too big for his frame, something changes in his eyes. The scared little boy disappears, replaced by something else entirely, something that's been watching, learning, and waiting for exactly this moment. 3 years ago, in a cramped apartment that smelled of medicine and old photographs, 8-year-old Jaden Thompson sat cross-legged on a threadbare carpet, watching his grandfather's weathered hands shuffle a deck of cards with the precision of a surgeon. Poker isn't about the cards, little man, William Thompson said, his voice soft but firm as he dealt 2 cards to each of them. It's about reading souls. Every person on this earth has tells, little habits that give away their secrets when they think nobody's watching. William had learned poker in the foxholes of Korea, where reading an enemy's intentions could mean the difference between life and death. After the war, he'd cleaned office buildings at night and played cards in Washington Square Park on weekends, turning $5 buy-ins into grocery money through pure skill and observation. See this? William pointed to his own face as he made an exaggerated expression. When people lie, their bodies betray them. A twitch here, a touch there. Most folks are walking books. You just got to learn how to read. Young Jaden absorbed every word like gospel. While other kids his age played video games, he studied his grandfather's hands as they demonstrated probability. If there are 52 cards and you see 5, how many are left? What are the chances the next card helps you? William would ask. And Jaden's mind would calculate the answers faster than most adults could think. But it was more than mathematics. William taught Jaden to notice everything. How people's voices changed when they were nervous, how their breathing shifted when they were excited, how their eyes moved when they were calculating lies. Rich folks think their money makes them smart, William would say with a knowing smile, but money can't buy the ability to control your face when you're scared. The lessons continued every Sunday for 2 years until the cough started. Then the hospital visits. Then the diagnosis came too late because they couldn't afford the right doctors, the right tests, the right treatments. Don't let them tell you what you're worth, Jaden, William whispered from his hospital bed, pressing a worn $5 poker chip into his grandson's palm. This old thing's from Vegas, 1973. Won it fair and square from a man who thought I was just another janitor. Show them who you are. William died 3 days later, leaving behind a grandson with a photographic memory for human behavior and a burning desire to prove that intelligence doesn't come with a price tag. The real education began when Angela started bringing Jaden to work with her. While she cleaned million-dollar apartments and served at exclusive parties, Jaden became invisible furniture, present but unnoticed, watching and learning from people who treated him like a piece of decoration. At the Blackstone penthouse, he discovered a goldmine of psychological data. These wealthy players had never faced real consequences for their poker mistakes, so their tells were huge, obvious, and completely unconscious. Patricia Whitmore touched her necklace every time she was about to fold. James Morrison's left eye twitched when he bluffed. Doctor. Foster tapped her earring 3 times when calculating odds. Most importantly, Richard Blackstone himself had a tell so massive it was almost comical. He touched his expensive watch whenever he felt uncertain or weak. The gesture was so automatic that he did it during business calls, at dinner parties, even while arguing with his wife. It was his security blanket, and he had no idea he was doing it. Every day after school, while Angela worked her second job cleaning offices downtown, Jaden spent hours at the public library. Free internet became his poker university. He studied professional tournament videos, memorized probability charts, and practiced on free online sites using fake accounts. His young mind absorbed advanced concepts that took most players years to understand. Pot odds, implied odds, reverse psychology, leveling theory. The librarians thought he was researching a school project. His teachers assumed he was just a quiet kid who liked computers. Nobody suspected that an 11-year-old was developing expertise that would challenge seasoned professionals. But the real motivation wasn't fame or money or even revenge. Every night, Jaden watched his mother count and recount their small pile of bills, watched her skip meals so he could eat, watched her work 16-hour days to keep them afloat. Every poker video he studied, every probability he memorized, every tell he cataloged was for her. Tonight, with their entire future hanging on 5 cards and a billionaire's cruelty, all those hours of secret preparation would finally have their moment. William's poker chip sat heavy in Jaden's pocket as he faced the man who thought intelligence was inherited through bank accounts. Time to show them what a janitor's grandson could really do. Vinny's hands move with professional precision as he shuffles the deck one final time, the cards flowing like water between his fingers. The sound cuts through the penthouse's tense silence. 52 possibilities about to determine a family's fate. "Gentlemen, this is Texas Hold'em," Vinny announces, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades at poker tables. "Each player receives 2 hole cards, followed by 5 community cards dealt in stages. Best 5-card hand wins." He slides 2 cards face down to each player. The soft whisper of cardboard against felt sounds like thunder in the suddenly quiet room. 20 phones are recording now, capturing what everyone assumes will be swift justice delivered to an uppity child. Jaden peeks at his cards with the careful precision his grandfather taught him. 7 of spades, 8 of spades. His face reveals nothing, but inside, his mind immediately begins calculating. These are what poker players call suited connectors. 2 cards in sequence and the same suit. Not a powerhouse hand, but one with serious potential if the right community cards appear. Across the table, Blackstone glances at his cards and can't suppress a slight smile. Ace of clubs, king of diamonds. Big Slick, as it's known in poker circles, one of the strongest starting hands possible. His confidence surges as he mentally counts the scholarship money he'll never have to pay. "Pre-flop betting begins with you, Mr. Blackstone," Vinny states. Blackstone doesn't hesitate. He pushes $50 worth of chips forward with theatrical flair. "Let's start with something small. Don't want to scare the boy away too quickly." The crowd chuckles at his casual cruelty. Patricia Whitmore whispers loudly, "How generous of you, Richard, starting slow for the child." All eyes turn to Jaden. This is his first decision point, and everyone expects him to fold immediately. Why would a poor kid risk $50? Probably more money than his family sees in a week. But Jaden is remembering his grandfather's lessons about reading people. Blackstone's nostril flared when he made that bet, the subtle tell of someone confident in their hand strength. The way he leaned back slightly after pushing chips forward, classic dominance posturing. Most telling of all, Blackstone didn't touch his watch, meaning he felt completely secure. Jaden pushes $50 forward to match the bet. "I call." The first murmur of surprise ripples through the crowd. The kid isn't folding. This might actually be interesting. Vinny burns 1 card and deals the flop. 3 community cards face up in the center of the table. The cards fall in sequence. 6 of spades, 9 of hearts, 5 of clubs. Let me explain what this means for each player because this is where the hand gets fascinating. Jaden's 7 and 8 of spades, combined with the 6, 9, and 5 on the board, gives him what's called an open-ended straight draw. He needs either a 4 or a 10 to complete a straight 5 cards in numerical sequence. With 8 cards in the deck that can help him, he has about a 31% chance of making his hand by the end. Blackstone's ace-king, meanwhile, has completely missed this flop. He has what poker players call overcards, cards higher than anything on the board, but no pair, no nothing. He's essentially holding ace high, which in poker terms means he has almost nothing. But here's the crucial part. Blackstone doesn't realize how weak his position is. In his mind, ace-king is still a premium hand, and he's facing a child who couldn't possibly understand advanced poker strategy. 50 more, Blackstone announces, pushing chips forward with renewed aggression. He's trying to bully Jaden out of the pot before the kid gets lucky. This is where Jaden's 3 years of observation pay dividends. He's seen Blackstone make this exact move dozens of times, betting aggressively when feeling strong, trying to end hands quickly. But something's different this time. Blackstone's hand moved toward his watch for just a split second before stopping. A micro-tell that suggests uncertainty beneath the bravado. Instead of folding like everyone expects, Jaden does something that shocks the room. He raises to $150. Raise, he says quietly, pushing chips forward with steady hands. The penthouse falls dead silent. Even Vinny's eyebrows climb toward his hairline. What just happened defies all logic. An 11-year-old child just raised a billionaire in a high-stakes poker hand. Well, I'll be damned, James Morrison whispers. Blackstone's confident smile falters for the first time. This was supposed to be easy entertainment, a quick lesson in racial hierarchy delivered through cards. Why is this kid fighting back? Patricia Whitmore stops touching her necklace mid-gesture. Is he actually playing poker? Vinny leans forward slightly, his professional instincts fully engaged now. That raise wasn't random. The timing, the sizing, the situation, it showed understanding of concepts that take most players years to grasp. This child just executed what pros call a semi-bluff, betting with a drawing hand that could improve while also applying pressure to force mistakes. Your action, Mr. Blackstone, Vinny prompts. For the first time all evening, Richard Blackstone hesitates. His fingers drift toward his watch before he catches himself. The crowd that was laughing with him moments ago now watches him with curious eyes. The game is changing, the power dynamic is shifting, and somewhere in the back of everyone's mind, an impossible question begins to form. What if this kid actually knows what he's doing? Blackstone stares at the chips Jaden just pushed forward, his mind struggling to process what's happening. A $150 raise from an 11-year-old? This wasn't in the script. This was supposed to be a quick humiliation, not an actual poker match. His fingers twitch toward his watch before he forces them to stop. Call, he says, trying to sound casual, but his voice carries a note of uncertainty that wasn't there before. Vinny burns another card and reveals the turn, the fourth community card that can change everything. The card hits the felt with a soft thud. 4 of diamonds. The room doesn't understand what just happened, but Jaden's mind explodes with mathematical certainty. His 7-8 of spades now has the board reading 6, 9, 5, 4. He's completed his straight 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In poker terms, he has the nuts, the absolute best possible hand at this moment. Nobody can beat him, not with any 2 cards. It's mathematically impossible. But here's the beautiful part. Nobody else knows it. Blackstone still has ace-king with nothing, just ace-high. He's holding what amounts to trash in poker terms, but he doesn't realize how dire his situation has become. In his mind, he still has Big Slick, still has the premium hand, still has the intellectual advantage. Interesting turn card, Vinny mutters, studying the board with professional eyes. He's starting to see the possibilities, and what he sees makes his pulse quicken. Instead of betting aggressively with his monster hand, Jaden does something that would impress world-class professionals. He checks, just taps the table gently, indicating he doesn't want to bet. This is called slow playing or trapping, and it requires ice-cold nerves and advanced psychological understanding. Jaden is deliberately showing weakness with an unbeatable hand, inviting Blackstone to bet into him and build a bigger pot. Blackstone takes the bait completely. 200, he announces, shoving chips forward with renewed confidence. In his mind, the kid's check confirms what he expected. Jaden is weak, probably scared, definitely in over his head. Time to end this charade and collect his victory. The crowd murmurs approval. This is more like it. The billionaire reasserted dominance over the presumptuous child, but Jaden is reading Blackstone like a children's book. 3 years of observation have cataloged every micro-expression, every unconscious gesture. When Blackstone made that bet, his nostrils flared slightly, the tell of someone feeling strong, his shoulders squared in dominance posturing. Most importantly, he didn't touch his watch, meaning he felt completely confident. Blackstone has no idea he just walked into a perfectly laid trap. Raise, Jaden says quietly. 400. The words hit the room like a physical blow. Patricia Whitmore's wine glass freezes halfway to her lips. James Morrison's mouth falls open. Even Vinny, who's seen everything in 30 years of professional poker, blinks in surprise. An 11-year-old child just raised a billionaire to $400. This isn't child's play anymore. This is serious money, serious poker, serious psychology. What the hell? Blackstone's composure cracks visibly. His hand jerks toward his watch before he catches himself. This was supposed to be educational entertainment, not a real poker match where he might actually lose. Vinny leans forward, his professional instinct screaming that something extraordinary is happening. Gentlemen, the action is to you, Mr. Blackstone. This is ridiculous, Blackstone snaps, but his voice lacks its earlier confidence. He's 11 years old. He doesn't know what he's doing. But even as he says it, doubt creeps into his mind. The kid's betting pattern shows understanding of concepts that Blackstone himself doesn't fully grasp. The timing, the sizing, the psychology, it's all too sophisticated for random luck. Patricia Whitmore whispers to her husband, "Maybe we should stop this. The child seems to actually know how to play." "No," Blackstone says loudly, his ego overriding his judgment. "I'm not being outplayed by the help's brat. Call. The pot now contains $800, real money that could pay Angela's rent for 3 months. But more than money is at stake here. Reputations, worldviews, fundamental beliefs about intelligence and worth hang in the balance." Vinny deals the final card, the river. 5 of hearts. A complete blank that changes nothing about the hand strength. Jaden still has his unbeatable straight. Blackstone still has absolutely nothing. "This is it," Vinny announces. "Final betting round." Jaden studies Blackstone's face with the intensity of a surgeon. Every micro-expression, every unconscious gesture gets cataloged and analyzed. Blackstone's breathing has quickened slightly. His pupils are dilated with stress. His fingers keep drifting toward his watch before stopping, the universal tell of uncertainty and fear. The man is breaking down, and he doesn't even realize it. "Check," Jaden says, tapping the table softly. It's the perfect move. By checking with the nuts, he's giving Blackstone one final chance to bet into him, to commit even more money to a pot he cannot win. It's psychological warfare at its finest, showing weakness while holding ultimate strength. Blackstone's mind races. The kid checked again. That has to mean weakness, right? Children don't have the sophistication for advanced deception. This is his chance to end the humiliation and restore proper order. "All in," he declares, shoving his remaining $150 into the center. "Every last chip. Let's see what you're really made of, boy." The room gasps. Blackstone just committed every chip he has to a pot he cannot win, against an 11-year-old who's been outplaying him since the first card was dealt. Jaden looks at the chips, then at Blackstone's face, then at the cameras recording every moment of what's about to become poker legend. "I call," he says simply. The trap is complete. The game is over. All that remains is the revelation. The moment Jaden calls Blackstone's all-in bet, the penthouse falls into absolute silence. $850 sits in the center of the table, more money than Angela makes in 2 months, waiting for the cards to be revealed. But before anyone can show their hands, Vinny stands up from his chair, his professional reputation demanding he speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice cuts through the tension like a blade, "I need to explain what you're witnessing here." He gestures toward the community cards spread across the felt. "This board shows 69545. Now, I've been playing professional poker for 30 years, and what this young man just executed." He pauses, shaking his head in genuine amazement. "This is a master-level strategy." Patricia Whitmore lowers her wine glass, her earlier amusement replaced by genuine curiosity. "What do you mean, Vincent?" "Look at the betting pattern," Vinny explains, his voice gaining authority as he speaks to the crowd. Jaden called the initial bet, then raised on the flop when he had a drawing hand. That's called a semi-bluff, and it requires deep understanding of pot odds and psychology. When the turn card came, he checked with what I suspect is a very strong hand, then raised it when his opponent bet. That's textbook slow playing. James Morrison leans forward, his earlier smirks fading. "Are you saying the kid actually knows how to play?" "I'm saying," Vinny's voice grows more serious, "that I've seen this exact sequence of moves in World Series of Poker main events. Professional players pay thousands of dollars for coaching to learn these concepts. This child just executed them flawlessly against a man who thinks he owns the world. The crowd's energy shifts dramatically. Phones that were recorded for entertainment value now capture something else entirely, the possibility that they're witnessing genuine brilliance from an unexpected source. Dr. Elizabeth Foster, who's been silent until now, speaks up. Vincent, are you suggesting this 11-year-old is actually outplaying Richard? Ma'am, I'm not suggesting anything, Vinny replies firmly. I'm telling you that if this young man has the hand I think he has, what we just watched was a clinic in advanced poker psychology. He read his opponent, controlled the pot size, and extracted maximum value from someone who never suspected the trap being set. Blackstone's face goes pale as the implications sink in. The laughter that surrounded him minutes ago has evaporated. The crowd that was enjoying his dominance display now looks at him with different eyes, eyes that are starting to see weakness where they once saw strength. This is impossible, Blackstone stammers. He's just a kid, Just what? Angela's voice carries from the kitchen doorway where she's been watching in silence. For the first time in 4 years of employment, she speaks directly to Blackstone's guests. Just brilliant? Just gifted? Just someone you never bothered to notice because of the color of his skin? The room's atmosphere completely transforms. What began as cruel entertainment has become something else entirely, a reckoning with assumptions, prejudices, and the dangerous habit of judging intelligence by circumstances rather than ability. Vinny looks directly at Blackstone. Sir, it's time to show your cards. The moment of truth has arrived, and everyone in the room except Blackstone is starting to suspect they're about to witness something extraordinary. Show your cards, Vinny commands, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades at poker tables worldwide. Blackstone's hands tremble slightly as he reaches for his hole cards. His mind still can't accept what's happening. An 11-year-old child cannot possibly have outplayed him. It's genetically impossible. It's socially impossible. It's everything he's built his worldview on crashing down in real time. He flips over his cards with desperate confidence. Ace of clubs. King of diamonds. Ace-King, Vinny announces to the room, also known as Big Slick. With the final board of 6, 9, 5, 4, 5, Mr. Blackstone has ace-high. The crowd murmurs in confusion. Ace-high sounds impressive to people who don't play poker, but Vinny's tone suggests it's not good news. In poker terms, Vinny explains clearly, ace-high means Mr. Blackstone has essentially nothing. No pair, no straight, no flush. Just his ace as a high card. It's about as weak as a hand can be in this situation. The reality hits Blackstone like a physical blow. He just bet nearly $1,000 with nothing. But that's impossible. Ace-King is a premium hand. It's supposed to be strong. How can he have nothing? All eyes turn to Jaden, who sits quietly in his oversized chair looking impossibly young and impossibly calm. The cameras focus on his small hands as he reaches for his cards. Gentlemen and ladies, Jaden says, his voice clear and steady. Let me show you something my grandfather taught me about reading people. He flips over his cards. 7 of spades, 8 of spades. Vinny's eyes widen as he processes the hand. His voice drops to an awed whisper. 7, 8 of spades, with the board showing 6, 9, 5, 4, 5. He pauses, calculating quickly. That gives Jaden a straight. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The room erupts in gasps and shocked murmurs. Patricia Whitmore's wine glass slips from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. James Morrison's mouth falls open in complete disbelief. A straight beats ace-high, Vinny announces, his professional composure cracking with genuine amazement. Jaden wins, but the cards tell only part of the story. Vinny turns to address the stunned crowd, his voice carrying the weight of professional authority. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed wasn't luck. This young man has been holding the winning hand since the 4th card was dealt, but instead of betting aggressively and scaring his opponent away, he slow-played it perfectly. He points to the sequence of bets. He trapped Mr. Blackstone into committing every chip he had to a pot he could never win. That's not beginner's luck. That's advanced psychological warfare. Blackstone stares at the cards in complete shock, his brain unable to process the mathematical reality in front of him. This can't be happening, he whispers. This is impossible. The mathematics are quite simple, actually. Jaden says, his young voice cutting through the chaos with surgical precision. You had roughly a 6% chance of winning after the turn card. I had the nuts, the best possible hand. You bet everything on a 6% chance because you couldn't read the situation. The words hit Blackstone like bullets. Not just the poker lesson, but the calm, analytical way this 11-year-old is explaining how thoroughly he's been outplayed. But more importantly, Jaden continues, standing up in his chair to address the room, you couldn't see my strength because you were blinded by your assumptions about my worth. The crowd begins to applaud, slowly at first, then building to thunderous approval. These wealthy, sophisticated people are giving a standing ovation to a child who just demonstrated intellectual superiority in the most undeniable way possible. Vinny starts the applause, his professional respect overriding social boundaries. In 30 years of poker, I've rarely seen such perfect execution. That was a masterclass in reading opponents and controlling psychology. Blackstone sits frozen in his chair, staring at the cards that just destroyed his entire worldview. The child he dismissed as genetically inferior just outplayed him using pure intelligence, patience, and skill. The game is over. The money is won. But the real victory is just beginning. The applause dies down as Vinny addresses the room with the gravity of a courtroom judge delivering a verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand what just happened here, he says, his voice carrying 30 years of professional authority. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't beginner's luck. What Jaden just executed requires mastery of concepts that most players never learn. He gestures toward the felt table where the cards still lie in testament to genius. He read micro-expressions to identify his opponent's tells. He calculated pot odds in real time. He employed advanced psychological strategy to extract maximum value from a losing hand. These are skills that professional players spend decades developing. Patricia Whitmore, her earlier cruel laughter now a memory, steps forward with obvious discomfort. Vincent, are you saying this child has been studying poker? Ma'am, I'm saying this child has been studying human psychology at a graduate level while we all assumed he was just furniture. Vinny's words cut through the room's pretensions like a surgeon's scalpel. For the first time since the cards were dealt, Jaden stands up fully in his chair and addresses the crowd that has spent years ignoring his existence. For 3 years, I've sat in corners of rooms like this, watching you play poker and assuming I was too young or too poor or too black to understand what I was seeing. His voice carries a quiet strength that makes even the most powerful people in the room listen. But my grandfather taught me that poker reveals character. Tonight, every person in this room revealed exactly who they are. James Morrison shifts uncomfortably. Now wait just a minute. No, sir, Jaden interrupts with polite firmness. You wait. You laughed when Mr. Blackstone called me an animal. You recorded videos expecting to watch a child get humiliated for your entertainment. You assumed my worth based on my mother's job and the color of my skin. The room falls silent as the weight of their collective behavior settles on their consciences. But poker taught me something else, Jaden continues, his young voice gaining power. It taught me that assumptions are dangerous. Mr. Blackstone assumed I was inferior because of my circumstances. That assumption just cost him $1,000 and his reputation. Angela Thompson steps out of the kitchen where she's been silently watching her son's transformation from invisible child to undeniable force. My son taught himself poker theory using library books and free internet videos, she says, her voice steady with pride. While you assumed his limitations, he was mastering skills. You pay consultants thousands of dollars to teach you poorly. Dr. Elizabeth Foster, shame evident in her voice, asks, How long have you been watching our games, Jaden? 3 years, ma'am. Every Thursday night poker game, every weekend tournament, every casual hand during dinner parties. I've been cataloging tells, memorizing betting patterns, studying the psychology of players who never faced real consequences for their mistakes. That's impossible, Blackstone finally speaks, his voice hollow with shock. You're just a child. Children don't have that kind of capacity for what? Jaden's question hangs in the air like a challenge. For intelligence? For analysis? For learning? Or just for being better than you thought someone like me could be? The question hits Blackstone like a physical blow, exposing the racist foundation of his disbelief. Vinny delivers the final verdict. Mr. Blackstone, in poker we have a saying, play the player, not the cards. You played the stereotype instead of the person sitting across from you. That's why you lost. Angela adds quietly, my son has been accepted to Harvard's early admission program. We just couldn't afford it before tonight. The room's atmosphere shifts completely as the implications sink in. They haven't just witnessed a poker game, they've witnessed the public destruction of everything they believed about intelligence, worth, and superiority. The real lesson isn't about poker, Jaden concludes, his voice carrying wisdom beyond his years. It's about the dangerous cost of underestimating people based on assumptions. Tonight, those assumptions cost Mr. Blackstone everything. Tomorrow, they might cost you just as much. The moral reckoning is complete. Justice has been served not through violence or revenge, but through pure, undeniable intellectual superiority demonstrated in the most public way possible. 6 months later, the transformation is complete and undeniable. Jaden Thompson sits in the library of Manhattan Preparatory Academy, his Harvard acceptance letter framed on the desk beside his grandfather's old poker chip. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows as he tutors 3 classmates in advanced probability theory, concepts that once seemed impossible for a boy from his background to understand, let alone master. The key to reading people, he explains to his study group, isn't magic. It's observation, pattern recognition, and understanding that everyone reveals their thoughts through unconscious behaviors. His phone buzzes with a text from his mother. Channel 7 wants another interview about the scholarship fund. Are you free this weekend? The viral video changed everything. Within 24 hours of James Morrison posting the footage, #PokerGenius was trending worldwide. The clip of an 11-year-old black child systematically dismantling a racist billionaire's worldview has been viewed over 50 million times across all platforms, but the real impact goes far deeper than social media metrics. 3 weeks after that night, Dr. Elizabeth Foster approached Angela with an offer to manage her family's charitable foundation at triple her previous salary. We need someone who understands what real intelligence looks like, she said, and how easily we can overlook it. Angela accepted, and within months proved that her organizational skills and attention to detail, honed through years of managing wealthy households, translated perfectly to managing multi-million-dollar philanthropic initiatives. The William Thompson Foundation, named after Jaden's grandfather, has already awarded 47 full scholarships to gifted children from working families. The selection criteria? Not test scores or essays, but demonstrated ability to learn, adapt, and overcome obstacles. We look for kids who've been underestimated, Angela explains to reporters. The ones sitting quietly in corners, absorbing everything, while adults assume they're not smart enough to matter. Applications to chess and poker clubs in community centers nationwide increased by 400% after the video went viral. Libraries report massive spikes in strategy game book checkouts. The Jaden effect has become a real phenomenon in educational psychology circles. But perhaps the most satisfying transformation involves Richard Blackstone himself. The man who once owned a tech empire worth billions now works as a mid-level consultant at a firm that wouldn't have returned his calls 2 years ago. His company's board requested his resignation within weeks of the video's release, as clients and partners distanced themselves from his public display of racism. His wife filed for divorce 6 months later, citing irreconcilable differences. Legal code for, I can't be married to a man the entire world knows is a racist. His children, embarrassed by their father's behavior, refused to speak to him. The penthouse where he once hosted poker games for Manhattan's elite has been sold to pay legal fees and settlement costs. The new owners converted it into a learning center for gifted children from underserved communities. A beautiful irony that wasn't lost on anyone who knew the building's history. Blackstone now lives in a studio apartment in Queens, eating microwave dinners and watching the news coverage of Jaden's continued success with the bitter knowledge that he created his own downfall. Meanwhile, Jaden's academic achievements continue to astound his teachers. Perfect scores in advanced calculus and behavioral psychology, captain of both the debate team and chess club. Early admission offers from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and Yale, not because of his poker skills, but because of the analytical mind that made those skills possible. The poker was just a demonstration, explains Dr. Sarah Carter, Jaden's academic advisor. The real gift is his ability to process complex information, identify patterns, and apply theoretical knowledge to practical situations that's useful in any field. The documentary The Boy Who Read Minds won 3 Emmy Awards and inspired educational reform discussions in dozens of school districts. The film's most powerful moment comes when Jaden returns to his old community center, teaching poker fundamentals to a new generation of children who might otherwise go unnoticed. Every Saturday morning, I see kids who remind me of myself, Jaden tells the camera. Quiet ones, smart ones, kids whose potential is invisible to people who make assumptions about intelligence based on zip codes and bank accounts. The poker room at the community center where he learned the game is now named the William Thompson Memorial Room, with his grandfather's photograph hanging above the main table. Vinny Castellano, the professional poker player who witnessed Jaden's breakthrough, became an unlikely mentor and advocate. That kid changed how I think about talent, he says in interviews. Real skill doesn't announce itself with fancy clothes and expensive accessories. Sometimes it sits quietly in the corner, watching and learning, waiting for someone to give it a chance. The scholarship winners from the William Thompson Foundation are already making their mark. Maria Santos, a 12-year-old from the Bronx, just won the National Math Olympiad. David Kim, whose parents worked double shifts at a restaurant, received early admission to MIT's engineering program. Aisha Johnson is developing an app to help other kids from single-parent homes access educational resources. We're not just funding education, Angela explains in her foundation office, which overlooks the same park where her son once played while she worked multiple jobs. We're proving that brilliance exists everywhere. You just have to know how to recognize it. The ripple effects continue spreading. Business schools now teach the Blackstone case study as an example of how unconscious bias can lead to catastrophic decision-making. The poker community has embraced Jaden as a symbol of the game's democratic nature, where skill matters more than background. Professional players regularly seek his insights on reading tells and psychological strategy. At 13, he's already been invited to observe World Series of Poker events, though he's focused on academics rather than professional gambling. Poker taught me about people, he explains in a recent interview. But people are everywhere, in science, in business, in politics. Understanding human psychology is useful no matter what career you choose. As for his immediate future, Harvard awaits. Full scholarship, naturally, along with a spot in their accelerated psychology program. His admission essay, titled Why Assumptions Are Dangerous, has been shared in educational circles as a masterpiece of analytical thinking from a teenage mind. The final scene of the documentary shows Jaden at his prep school graduation, speaking as valedictorian to an audience that includes many of the same people who once dismissed him as invisible furniture. Intelligence isn't inherited through wealth, he tells the crowd, his voice now deeper but carrying the same quiet strength that shocked a penthouse full of billionaires. Brilliance isn't passed down through privilege. Genius grows wherever curiosity meets opportunity, even in the shadows where society doesn't think to look. The standing ovation lasts 5 full minutes. Today, Jaden Thompson is living proof that potential has no address, no uniform, no accent, only the courage to prove everyone wrong, one perfect decision at a time. And somewhere in Queens, Richard Blackstone watches the graduation coverage on his small television, finally understanding the cost of assumptions that once seemed so safe to make. Subscribe for more stories of hidden genius, unexpected victories, and the beautiful moment when prejudice meets undeniable truth. Because right now, somewhere, a brilliant mind is being overlooked, and all they need is someone willing to see their true potential.